I'm gonna do this, whether you like it or not. Bam, there we go. The psychology of umbrellas. All right, here I am with my umbrella inside. The idea of opening an umbrella inside is that it's the idea of superstition. There's bad luck if that happens, that there's some consequence for this behavior. It's pseudoscience, it's pseudopsychology, it's not a real thing. There's no scientific proof for this, and we're going to talk about that. We have this idea of operant conditioning that what behaviors we do have consequences. And this behavior apparently has the consequence of death. I don't understand that. Operant conditioning rewards and consequences like payment for services or, avoidance of punishment. That makes sense, but this is a delusion. It also signifies some kind of external locus of control. This idea that there's this luck out there that pays attention to things like rules, like umbrellas inside, oh my God, and that you're going to be smited or smote or smitten if you do that. God doesn't care about our umbrellas, people. You would have an external locus of control if you feel like he does. An internal locus of control would be, I am responsible for the rewards and consequences that are happening to me. It's a delusion, like I said. It's not hard to imagine a world where a schizophrenic thinks something like this. A schizophrenic person is like, hey, you can't open that inside, folks. Stop it. But for some reason, it's a socially accepted, socially constructed delusion, where people understand, oh my God, you don't open an umbrella inside. Well, we could disprove all this with an experiment. You get maybe like 500 people, a wide swath, a representative sample, meaning all genders, all races, all ages, and a big sample. 500 people, let's say that, maybe 1,000, something big, more than a couple. You would also need to then randomly assign them to either an experimental group or a control group. And you get half of them to open an umbrella inside, and the other half doesn't. The half that did is called the experimental group, the half that didn't is called the control group. And then you follow up with them, like 6 months or a year later, and how about 7 years? Because isn't it 7 years of bad luck, this crap? Well, 7 years later, you give them you give them something that you make. Let's say you operationally define bad luck through making some survey that asks them whether they broke their back or whether they got in car accidents or whether their loved ones left them, and all these sort of questions. That you've turned vague things into specific yes or no questions. It's called an operational definition. Well, what you're measuring there that you've operationally defined is your dependent variable. Your dependent variable is bad luck survey. I can almost guarantee you that there's going to be almost no difference, no significant difference is the term for it, between the groups the group that opened the umbrellas inside and the group that didn't. Very little significant difference. Meaning, any difference that does arise is due to chance. I bet my life on it. Look at that, I'm doing this. I would bet my life on that. It's freaking science, people! But I don't know if people are the best people to ask about this. Remember, socially constructed is this whole thing about umbrellas, and people might not be honest. You give the people who opened the umbrella and the people who didn't a bad luck survey, and they think back and they say, oh yeah, the people who would have already believed this, that the umbrella means bad luck, might answer the survey as though it did. That'd be an example of something called confirmation bias. Maybe we could operationally define bad luck better than a survey, and that would get around this whole problem of having people answer the question, having people what's called introspection, where they actually are asking themselves a question. It's not always the most valid way to do something scientifically, especially when you're talking about a well-known socially constructed delusion. But here I am in apparently the socially appropriate zone to use an umbrella outside in the rain, and it's helping me out. And it's also operant conditioning. It's a thing called negative reinforcement. We have an aversive stimulus, the rain. I'm getting rained on. It's bad. It's aversive, meaning a bad thing that you don't want to happen. And the action of putting up an umbrella is what's called negatively reinforced, meaning it takes away, negative, subtracts, takes away the bad thing. It's good. Where did my umbrella go? So if I'm stuck in the rain out here without an umbrella, and if I am also locked in this courtyard, which is actually pretty likely, it's after school, I'm going to try my best to get through some window or through some door or get out of here somehow, but without an umbrella, without any cover, and without being able to get out the door, I'd probably give up pretty quick. That's called learned helplessness. Hello?